Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing good. So today I have come with the another topic. What I've taken the second topic of history in the chapter of advent of Europeans to India. So before that, let me revise the previous things what we have seen before. So we know that the trade relations between India and Europe was since ancient times. So there was a greater demand for Indian spices like cardamom, ginger and many other spices in Europe. So who used to come to buy these goods and services? Who used to come to buy these goods? That was the Arab merchant. So their main city was Constantinople of Byzantium Empire. So if I want to see in the picture, so let us see where was the Arab merchants? Here. This comes the Arab merchants. Where is India? These are the Asian countries. So these Arab merchants used to come to Asian countries, buy the goods and take it to the Constantinople. So there and sell them. So Arab merchants used to sell them, and from there Italian people used to take these goods and take to the other parts of the Europe. So who were mostly benefited? Both the Arab merchants and Italian. But the huge profits were made by Italian merchants. So suddenly what happens? The Ottoman Turks will capture the Constantinople. So what the Ottoman Turks will do? They will capture the Constantinople. So the monopoly power of Arab merchants will get hand over to Ottoman Turks. Then this France and Spain and even Portuguese, they'll be that only Italian people are making huge profit. So they will also think why only they should make profit, and they will start, all the circumstances will give the chance to find a new sea route to India. So the first person of which country they are going to come? Portuguese. He is Vasco da Gama from Lisbon city. He will come to Cape of Good Hope and some two other cities, and finally he reaches the Calicut, Kappadu, placed in Calicut, near Calicut. So the Portuguese will be the first person to re-establish the trade between India and Europe after the capture of Constantinople by the Ottoman Turks. So here what happens? So Vasco da Gama will find the new sea route to India. So this distance will be too much for them to travel. So what will they do? Again, in the year 1869, the Egypt people will build a canal called Suez Canal. It is a huge canal called Suez Canal which connects the Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea. So this becomes the another sea route to travel and to trade easily from India to Europe. We have seen all these things before, and now let us see what comes the next. Let us continue the chapter. We have seen that Suez Canal was built, Ottoman Turks captured the Constantinople, the Portuguese find it the new sea route to India. So these were the improvements. Then what happens is, only Portuguese will not stop coming to India. Then some other people also will start coming, that is Dutch, French and English. So first persons who comes to India is the Portuguese. So Portuguese are the first person to come to India, then the Dutch people, then English will come, and finally French people will come to India. Here you can see I have made the list of few important names in the specification of that people. So if in Portuguese, who are the important people who have come to India? From Dutch, who? English, who? And French, who? So if I'm going to say about Portuguese, that is Vasco da Gama was the first person to come to India. He found out the new sea route to India. Then Francisco de Almeida, so he will be after Vasco da Gama. Then Alfonso de Albuquerque, so this person will come after Francisco de Almeida. Then from Dutch, the important thing is United East India Company, which was established in the year 1602. Then from English, Queen Elizabeth will play the important role. What will see the next? Sir Thomas Roy and Charles II. Then if it comes to the French, here we can see French East India Company in the year 1664, and the most important person of French is Dupleix. Okay, first is Portuguese. So these were the first to arrive at India for trade. So Portuguese were the first to arrive at India for trade. After Vasco da Gama, Francisco de Almeida arrived as the viceroy of Portuguese. So after Vasco da Gama, who will come? Francisco de Almeida. This person will come to India as the viceroy okay, as the representative of Portuguese. What he will do, Francisco de Almeida implemented blue water policy in order to establish the supremacy over sea. This fellow, he will establish a policy called blue water policy. So what? It holds the monopoly power over sea, not on land. See, if somebody have found out the route on land, they would have made, this is my place, you shouldn't come there. But this person made, as they have found the new sea route to India, they said you shouldn't use this sea route to come to India. So they had the supremacy power over sea, and this supremacy power will be frameworked in which policy? Blue water policy. It was implemented by Francisco de Almeida. Then what happens? After him, his successor will be Alfonso de Albuquerque. Alfonso de Albuquerque is considered as the real founder of Portuguese Empire in India. So Vasco da Gama will come only for trade purpose. Francisco de Almeida will come. He will implement some policy. That's it. Then the important person is Alfonso de Albuquerque. What he will do? He will establish he will found the real Portuguese Empire in India. He will establish the real Portuguese Empire in India. How? He waged a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur. So he will wage a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur in the year 1510. So in the year 1510, he will wage a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur, and he will win the Goa. He will take under his control. The Goa will come under his control. Now the Goa will become the administrative center of Portuguese. So Goa will be handed over completely to Portuguese. The Portuguese had absolute monopoly over trade within almost a century. So in what year did Portuguese, that is Vasco da Gama, come to India? 1498, approximately 1500. Okay, the thing even is, the Portuguese has absolute monopoly over the trade with India for almost a century. Till century means 100 years. So almost a century, Portuguese were only having a monopoly trade in India. That is, so century means absolutely till 1600. So 1600, only Portuguese were trading in India. Mostly Portuguese only were trading in India. Then the second people will be Dutch. The second people is Dutch who come to India. Dutch are from Holland or Netherlands. They come from Holland or Netherlands. They established East India Company in the year 1602. In the year 1602, they will establish the East India Company with the aim of doing business with spices rich islands. So wherever the spices are rich in those islands, they used to trade. Then they established warehouses in Chinsor, Masulipatanam, Kambe, Surat, Broch, Nagapattinam and Cochin. In these places, they will establish their warehouses. With this, they broke the monopoly of Portuguese in India. So for only Portuguese were there. After that, these people has come. So there will be no any monopoly trade. Monopoly means not one man power. Here the one man power will break because Dutch have also entered. Here how can you recognize the year 1602 means, as I told before, here you can see what I have given the date is 1600. Almost till 1600 only Portuguese were there. So if you had some extra 2 years, here you can see who in the year 1602. So if you add some 2 years, so the next English. So in 1600 December 31, important date. In 1600 December 31, Queen Elizabeth issued a royal charter authorizing East India Company to trade with eastern countries for 15 years. So in 1600 December 31st, Queen Elizabeth, she is the Queen of England, she issued a royal charter authorizing, so she issued some bill or something of East India Company. What that it is telling? The East India Company is going to trade with eastern countries for 15 years. Then what happens is, the company started the business formally in 1613. That is 1613, it started formally its company. business. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir issued a royal permission to establish their first warehouse at Surat. Who will give the permission? Mughal Emperor Jahangir. So when they come to India, the Mughal Emperor Jahangir issued a royal permission to them to establish their warehouse at Surat. First warehouse was at Surat. Sir Thomas Roy arrived at the court of Jahangir as the royal ambassador from the court of James I. So after Queen Elizabeth, the King of England will be James I. So from his court, who will come? Sir Thomas Roy arrived at the court of Jahangir as a royal ambassador from his court. So in 1639, English took Madras from the King of Chandragiri and established a strong fort named St. George Fort. Again in 1639. What? So absolutely, whenever they get the trade monopoly over there, and what they started to do is they easily started to attack on some of the weakest kingdoms, and they started to gain each kingdom. So and finally they gained the control over India. This is how either the Portuguese, Dutch, English, everyone started ruling India. Then later, Charles II, the Prince of England, gave Bombay as an annual rent of £10 a year to East India Company in 1668. India is ours, Bombay is ours. But who are they? As they captured, as they won the wars, what they started to do? They started to give our places of India as a rented to someone. See, for rent of £10 a year, he gave to East India Company in the year 1668. Who gave? Charles II. And then so in 1690, the English purchased three villages. They purchased three villages, namely Suthanauthi, Kaliakata, Govindapura on the banks of Hooghly River, and built Fort William. Again, they built the Fort William there. First they built St. George Fort, again Fort William. On the bank of the river Hooghly. By 17th century, the English had established Bombay, Madras and Calcutta as the center of their presidencies. So by the 17th century, they gained almost power they gained. So what they did, they took Bombay under their control, Madras under their control, and even Calcutta under their control. And these were the centers of their presidencies. By the later part of 18th century, so when it was about 18th century, the English made Calcutta as their capital city. So Calcutta became their capital city by 18th century, means in 1700. They implemented their own civil and criminal procedure codes in the areas that were under their control. So in whichever the places were under their control, they started to implement the rules and regulations, the codes, and whatever the punishment given to the criminals or for any other things, for any other like wrongness or like for any other, what can I tell, like any other thing. So they started to punish with their own rules and regulations which were in their country. Suppose England. So England, if it is, this is the punishment for such criminal for doing such wrong thing. So they started to implement the same thing in our India also. Then the final will be the French. So French East India Company started as a government owned company in 1664. So they started their French East India Company as a government. From this point of government, they started it in the year 1664. It started its first factory in Surat only. Here you can see what, one second. So Surat, so they also established their warehouse at Surat, who English people, and these people also, they started their first factory in Surat in the year 1668. In 1674, the French took Valikandapuram from a local Muslim official and developed it as a major trade center. So in the year 1674, they took one of the place from the Muslim official and developed it as their trade center. So that center is Puducherry. So Puducherry, Pondicherry, it can be called as Pondicherry also, Puducherry also, in the Tamil Nadu. So Dupleix, who arrived in Pondicherry as the Governor General of French, had the high ambitions of establishing French as the major power in South India. So as I told before, Dupleix is the most important person of French. He was like having so much of ambitions that he should have a major power in South India. So Portuguese and Dutch started declining their power with the arrival of English and French. As English and French were so powerful, Portuguese and Dutch people, their power came down. As these people were strong, who is that English and French, their powers led to Carnatic wars. So as they were very hard to compete, so by this resulted in the 3 Carnatic wars. That will be seen in the next video. So thank you.